Okay, let's talk about Orlando Brown Jr. and what he'll bring to the Kansas City Chiefs. Only a couple days late on this one. I'm like a month late. I don't know why I was lazy in getting around to it. I think it was before the draft, so I was so focused on draft stuff. I just kind of put it on the back burner and forgot about it, and then realized, oh yeah, I should make a video on that. People are probably interested. So let's talk about what he does well, because there's a lot he does well. The first thing is on a play like this, so he's the left tackle. He has a one-on-one matchup, and honestly, the best thing about Orlando Brown, in my opinion, is simply his size. He's just a huge guy, and you can't teach that. He's 6'8", 344 pounds. That's about as big as it gets right there, and it really plays into his strength. Watch how strong he's going to be on this play. I mean, as you see, he's just going to completely move over Tennessee Titans player, and that's just kind of what he can do. I mean, again, just a huge man and really strong, and that's a huge thing that he brings to the table. I remember when he got drafted, a lot of people were a bit concerned about, like, well, he's not necessarily the best athlete, and I don't really care about that as much as I think other people do, because clearly when it shows that in the NFL, you don't really need to be as good of an athlete. Having a fast 40 time doesn't matter as much as I think some people would lead you to believe it does. And to be clear, I'm talking about that when I'm talking about offensive linemen. I get it, a 5'8", 40-yard dash seems horrible, but who cares? You don't need him to run 40 yards. Unless you're planning on making him a gunner, I think you're fine. Because, watch, right here. It's really just, arm length and his reach that's really, I think that's the main thing that he brings to the table. That's probably my favorite thing about him, if I'm being honest. He has 35-inch arms, which is just absurd, but watch how it's going to work on this exact play. So as you see, once this play starts, you see how Brown is able to get the hand placement he wants. He gets his left arm on that right shoulder pad area so quickly because he has just bigger arms. He can get it there quicker. And that's something that I like about Brown, is that incredible arm length really means that he can get the hand placement he wants nearly every time, and just makes things really difficult to win from that point. And as you see, this wasn't even a horrible pass rush move once, the hand placement was made, but just that initial push, that's plenty. That's all Brown needed, quite frankly. Watch, here's another example where what's going to happen is that once again, he's the left tackle, so he's always going to be in the same spot, going up one-on-one against 57 right there. And right when this play starts, again, just that immediate hand placement. And what's great about it is that you get that initial push. Now, if you're also, by the way, 97, not 57, different player, my bad on that, but you get the hand placement perfectly to what you want, and just way more difficult to win at this point if you're a defensive lineman, because you see how he has his the defensive lineman, 97, has his right hand on Brown's left wrist. That's what you want to do, try to knock it away, but you're just further away from the quarterback at this point because of that arm length. And when he does break it off, Brown just, gets his arm length right back where he wants, because that's what he can do. Eventually find someone to hit, and Lamar Jackson runs for an hour, and then promptly there's a dropped pass there. That's some fun stuff right there. But really, the impressive part about that from Brown's perspective is, again, the arm length and then getting his hands back up quickly, because you clear that much space, you're going to have more room to get your hands back up as well, which is good. And then you have something like this. This is another key aspect of his game, I feel like, is, I talked about him not being necessarily the best athlete, obviously the poor 40 time, and the reason why that does come into play is he's not quite as good at, you can beat him with speed from time to time, but he's still able to recover from that, which is, again, very key. Watch how on this play, he's not going to get the hand placement he wants. Really good job by 57 of kind of knocking away the hands, and so at this point, it looks like it's about to be a disaster, right? I mean, you have a free runner to Lamar Jackson. Lamar doesn't realize it because Brown is playing left tackle. So what do you do at this point? This seems like it's a catastrophe, but the reason why it isn't so much is because Brown has long arms and is really strong, and that allows him to recover really nicely. When you have great hands, you can recover easier. Watch him get that left arm out and just sort of push him back. Again, that's one-handed, but, he's able to reach over there, almost like he's Inspector Gadget or something with how long his arms are. And then he has the strength to push someone back. Also, I think that's Inspector Gadget. I never watched Inspector Gadget. I've just heard it referenced before, so I'm referencing it now, all right? Leave me alone about it. And one more play. This one, again, I want to talk about his strength a bit. He's not someone you're going to beat with strength too often. So it's a one-on-one matchup once again. And watch what's going to happen. So right when this play starts, you see how basically they're holding hands right there with 97 and Brown. The defensive lineman's right hand is grabbing onto Brown's left hand. And again, with a left tackle, your left hand is usually the most important thing about the play. You want to get it, good contact. Ideally, you would like to get it on sort of the shoulder pad or pec area. You can't really do that right here, which is a little bit difficult, and you think that this would be a good situation for the defense. However, Brown is strong. And watch how he just kind of holds on right there. It's not the prettiest thing you'll ever see, but it was a really good play from Buffalo, and it should have resulted in a pressure at least, maybe a sack, and it just didn't because Brown was strong enough and he's able to come back. And that's probably the best thing about Brown is that even when he gets beat, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, even when he gets beat, it rarely results in a pressure. It rarely results in a sack. According to Pro Football Focus, last year he had over 1,000 snaps played, but he only allowed three sacks, which is really good, and he also only had 5 penalties. So very good stuff in terms of statistics, and he's just I think a really good player. And it's crazy how the Kansas City Chiefs, we all said, oh man, their offensive line, this is going to be a huge issue. I'm not sure if they can find a way to make it work. And then they say, no, we're going to sign Joe Thuney and we're going to trade for, Orlando Brown Jr., and we're going to have an awesome offensive line. What a weird twist this offseason has taken for them. That's what I think about Orlando Brown Jr. He's a really good player. This is a bit of a non sequitur, but I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it already, there's a really cool NFL Films, 15-minute long video on YouTube about sort of him and his dad who played in the NFL and the wild story that happened there. So I really recommend watching that, seeing how all that craziness happened. Wild story about that. So I always kind of like him a little bit more just because of that fun video and how interesting it is. Fun may be the wrong word, but interesting video. And so, yeah, I recommend that. Check it out. I think if you just search NFL Films Orlando Brown Jr., it'll come up. And yeah, my final thoughts on the matter is basically just I'm essentially always in favor of making a trade like this. I mean, you have a position of need. Why not go out and trade for a player who's already good now if you're a championship contending team? If the Chiefs were rebuilding, okay, maybe you don't give up the first round pick. But, it's a late first round pick. Like, kind of what I talked about is everyone freaked out about the DeAndre Hopkins thing because it was a second round pick, but it's only like 10 spots further back than what the Chiefs gave up. So it's similar value that the Chiefs are giving up for a star player also. So I think it's a really good move for them, and it really has. I think it completely changes the way this team looks in a lot of ways. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.